Today on the LA Countdown, the podcast, I'm Lucas Gervodio, and it's my birthday, so I'll pod if I want to. If you forgot to get me a present, that's okay, because it turns out I've got a gift for you. Cousin Saul and I are holding a draft of the 10 best birthday spots in LA, so for those of you who have been celebrating at Dave & Buster's year in, year out, your life is about to change. But first, we're joined by James Beard Award-winning broadcaster, author, and all-around pizza expert Steve Dolinsky. Steve is hosting the first ever Pizza City Fest LA, coming to LA Live this April 29th. Think of it as the Coachella of pizza. We talk about the festival, but we also talk about his illustrious career in food, what it's like to be a judge on Iron Chef America, and I even get him to reveal what he thinks is the best pizza city in America. Trust me when I say you're gonna want at least one slice of this interview. So without further ado, let's chow down. All right, calling in from Chicago, he's an author, podcaster, newscaster, and an expert in all things pizza, and a James Beard Award winner. It's Steve Dolinsky. Steve, how you doing today?
I am great, Luca. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. I have to start with a question about your name. It's Steve Dolinsky, and it's a little suspicious that someone who knows pizza so well has dough literally in their name. Is it your real name?
Hilarious. Someone just pointed that out to me recently. I didn't think about that until, way down the road. But yeah, it is funny that dough is part of my name. It is my name. That's my name. My grandfather came over from Ukraine. So they must have, dough and pizza were big maybe in my past.
Yeah, I feel like it was maybe your destiny. And we're going to talk a lot about pizza. But really, you've had a super rich and interesting career in food. So I think it makes it makes sense to start with, how did you even get into food in the first place? What sparked that love?
Yeah, totally by accident. I I had a sister-in-law, she is still my sister-in-law, brother's wife from Australia, got me into food when I was probably in junior high school, high school. I grew up in a kosher home in St. Cloud, Minnesota, about an hour
Hmm.
north of Minneapolis, where there were about 10 Jewish families. And so growing up for me in the 70s was a lot of brown, overcooked, not very interesting food.
Yeah.
We had a lot of chicken and then lamb chops as a kid. And so my sister-in-law from Australia really turned me on to Asian food and just everything else that was out there and gave me some really cool cookbooks when I graduated college, when I went to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for my first job in television. I remember going to the grocery store asking for fresh basil to make pesto, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They didn't, we got the basil here, it's dry, it comes in a jar. So that was, my early experience with cooking. But I really got into food because I think of her,
Yeah.
and living in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a pretty cool town, where the university is, and then getting to Chicago in my early 20s, and sort of being here at the cusp of this sort of the bridge between the old guard and the new guard, and Charlie Trotter was still a big name at that point.
Hmm.
But getting to explore the city and really sort of figure out just what I loved food wise. I mean, it was Asian food, it was Middle Eastern food, it was just everything under the sun here that I didn't have growing up. And so that was kind of my passion, my hobby. But I was a news reporter, sort of stuck in a news reporting job for the Tribune Company. They had a 24-hour news channel called CLTV, Chicagoland Television.
Hmm.
And just right place, right time. In '95, they announced they were going to do a TV version of the Tribune's weekly food section called Good Eating. And so I volunteered to be the producer for that show. And then a year later took over as the host and kind of never looked back. We did
Wow.
that show 8 years without stopping. We did 52 shows a year. And in '03, when they canceled the show, I shot myself around in Chicago as a food reporter on television, and ABC offered me a job, and they were the number
Yeah.
one station in the market. So I went over to ABC. I was there for 17 years. And by that time, I'd become really good at just kind of producing my own content and coming up with my own stories. And so that really led to a lot of other great freelance opportunities.
And you had a nickname when you were at ABC, is that right?
Yeah, the Hungry Hound.
How did that come about?
People in Chicago still call me that, even though I tell them the hound's been put to sleep. So it was my first day on the job, and they said, "What are we going to call your segment? We need to come up with a name for it." and we were kind of casting about like Chowhound and The Eater, and those were taken obviously by websites.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the producers said, "What about the Hungry Hound?" Because they like that, the alliteration. And they said, "Sure, that sounds good. Okay, what's the next thing on the agenda?" It was kind of decided in about 10 seconds, and it's something that stuck for 17 years, which is just crazy to me. But it really was a great opportunity, and it really, I mean, they have huge penetration in Chicago, number one by far. So yeah, it was a great opportunity, great run.
Yeah. Well, and so you were a newscaster. Did you set out to have a career in food and were sort of just waiting for your opportunity, or was it really just kind of like it fell in your lap and you were like, that sounds fun?
Totally fell in my lap. Yeah, when I 95, when this was all happening, so I'd been a news reporter professionally for 5 years at that point. I worked in Upper Michigan, I worked in Iowa, downstate Illinois. I got to Chicago as a news reporter. We helped launch this news channel, and I really didn't love it. I mean, it really wasn't. I have kind of a thin skin. I couldn't really cover hard news, but I loved
Yeah.
food, and so I would always gravitate to food feature stories. As a general assignment news reporter, once in a blue moon, you cover something that's really interesting or a feature story, and
Mm-hmm.
so. But it was just, yeah, it fell in my lap. Like we were the station that was going to be doing this TV version of a food section, they're looking for volunteers, and they have the weather guy said I like food, so he became the host. And then as a news reporter I said, well, I want to work on this show, and they said, well, we need a producer. So
Yeah.
I became the producer, and then a year later the host took a job in another market. I took over as as the host too. But it really, right place, right time. And that was the only thing in 95 was the Food Network, and they'd only been around for a year or two.
Right. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask because this is the '90s, right? And I feel like the big like celebrity chef craze and whatnot was still probably in its infancy, right?
I wasn't even there yet. I mean,
Yeah.
Emerald, it was still pre-Emerald. I mean, I remember doing
Pre-Emerald. Wow.
pre-Emerald. We had Emerald come through Chicago on book tour for like Emerald's Creole Christmas, one of his books, I think. And we always taped a recipe segment in the Tribune's test kitchen for our show each week. And so since he was going to come through Chicago, we said, well, let's do a recipe segment with him. But he had very little TV experience at that point. So he had been media trained, I could tell, but he
Yeah.
didn't really have his show going. So yeah, this was like 95, 96.
Yeah. Wow. So you're kind of like a hipster when it comes to food media.
Mm, maybe an OG.
An OG. There you go. Hipster OG. Well, we could call you both, whatever you prefer. Well, that's awesome. It's definitely something that I think a lot of people out there aim to emulate. And I mean, a lot of people, can get on TV and or even just pick up a mic or an iPhone these days and make their own food content. But you kind of did more than that. You've actually won James Beard Awards, right?
Yeah, I've got 13 of them. I'm sitting
Wow.
beneath them right now in my office. And we got six for TV, and I think four or five for radio, and then one for podcast, something
So
like
it's
that.
it's fair to say you're the Adele of the James Beard Awards then.
Oh, I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or Meryl Streep. We'll take one. Either of those is great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
that's
partly because
awesome.
I'm so old too. I'm just, I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
My first award was in '96, so. Uh, I mean, I'd like to think that, one of the things that set me apart was just the quality of production, high
yeah.
production values.
No,
So,
it's
I see what's done these days on phones, and some of it's okay, but I think, I still believe in sound and lighting.
yeah. No, I mean, I think that is something that definitely distinguishes your content. Even if folks just go on YouTube and look up Steve Dolinsky and pizza, he's got some awesome videos, and the production quality is just so high. It feels like you're watching a Food Network show, but on YouTube.
Well, thanks. I
Y-
appreciate that. That's kind of what I'm going for. I mean, I want it to be professional looking. And it's a little bit sad to me that no one's ever. I mean, I pitched it obviously to national programs before, but nobody's ever wanted to take me up on the offer. They're always like, it's not the right time, or we don't want pizza, or whatever.
They don't want pizza. What's wrong with them?
Well, they do. They just don't want the format that I'm doing it. They want, like three people competing on an island, hunting
Yeah.
down the pigs and making the pepperoni themselves or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like we're reaching a point of saturation with cooking competition shows, but that's a different. Actually, it ties directly into what I want to ask you about next, which is that you've been a judge on some of those shows. Is that right? Like Iron Chef
Yeah.
America. What
Yeah, I
what
did.
is
I did. Yeah.
so I want to know what that's like because in my mind, it would look like this. It would be try your darndest to not get too full, and then just wait in crippling anxiety, hoping that the other judges don't steal my take. That's the sort of like anxiety dream I'm having just thinking about that. I'm curious what it's actually like.
Yeah, it's a long day. First of all, they do two shows back to back, or they did when I was there. And I think Kevin Brosh was the floor reporter, and Alton Brown
Uh huh.
was the chairman. And we did what do we do? Battle Rabbit. I did Battle Pheasant. So two different
Wow.
days. And it's like 5 or 6 hours to do, 1 hour show. There's a lot of resetting, setting things up, for the tasting. You are pacing yourself. You don't want to overeat. You want to be able to be cognizant of what's going on around you and take notes and what they're preparing, because you can't just you need to like see what they're using in the dishes, and how they're preparing them. And then yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
want to come up with something witty and pithy, and and not be big-footed by the other judges, and
Yeah.
get your opinions in there, and be critical but also praiseworthy. So you try to kind of balance both, I think. But
Right.
it was a long day. I remember like I came like in the late morning or early afternoon, and we weren't out until like 9 o'clock at night.
Wow. And you probably weren't that hungry, were you?
I was not after Battle Rabbit.
Rabbit is an underrated and underused food in my opinion. So I'm jealous you got to do that one.
Well, it's just so lean, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you need to add fat to it because there's just not a lot of inherent fat to it. So, I think it was. I'm trying to think who the chefs were. Um, One was Michael Simon.
Oh yeah.
You remember him? Yep,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Cleveland, the Greek guy, and another chef from Canada. I think that's what it was. Oh, then Morimoto was the battle pheasant against a guy from Chicago. That was fun.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see his preparation of that, and I'm sure actually Michael Simon probably could have taken the pheasant in some interesting Greek directions,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or the rabbit.
He was a good guy. That was a lot of fun to do. And I think Dana Cowan, who was the editor of Food and Wine magazine, was one of my co-judges, and Alex Guarnaschelli was on there with me. So that was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I That's my problem. I think I would be too starstruck to ever do anything like that. So, but again, that's sort of what's happened with the celebritization of these food personalities over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I always was the Chicago guy.
Yeah.
There's always too many New Yorkers on those shows because it's just easy for them to go downtown to the studio. And I just didn't I never always felt like they didn't have enough representation from around the country, and so I would always try to lobby to get on the shows, and I finally got on a couple shows, but man, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I bet. Well, speaking of representation from around the country, you are a regional judge for the world's 50 best. Is that right?
No, I just stepped down this
Oh, you
year.
did. Okay.
Yeah, this 2022 is my last one,
Got it.
and it's so funny you mentioned that. I just got this morning the email that voting is now open for 50 best. So I'm now just I'm a voter,
Okay.
but yeah, I was for 13 years. I was chair of the Central Region in North America.
That is fascinating. I mean, I don't know how much you can actually talk about that process, but are there any, general anecdotes you can give about what that's like? It just seems like such a tough job to have to sort of look at this like very expansive, landscape of restaurants and have to go in and select literally the best.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, the process is really involved. Like, so the voters, so there are 26 regions in the world, right? They've divided the world up into 26 pieces. Each of those pieces has an academy chairperson. So that chairperson has to recruit 39 voters. Now,
Yeah.
those voters are supposed to be anonymous. The only people that are known are the 26 chair people. And then of those 39 voters, when you look at your voting body of 40 voters per region, it has to be a third restaurateurs or chefs, a
Mm-hmm.
third writers or food broadcasters, and then a third gastronomes or wealthy people who travel around and eat a lot. And it's got to
Mm-hmm.
be 50-50 male female. And because I've got Canada in my region, it had to be, percentage from Ontario typically because Toronto's there. So it was very difficult to get that list exact every year.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
then, but those voters then go online and vote anonymously. They vote for between 6 and 10 places. I think up to six in your own region, and then four from elsewhere. And then they're tabulated by an accounting firm, and that's it. Nobody goes and says, I think this should be number one and this should be number two.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So
happen that way. People,
well, so it brings to mind we're obviously in awards season in Hollywood here in LA, and it brings to mind some of the sort of like awards campaigns that happen around films, which are whoever has the biggest team behind them and can go out and do the biggest advertisement campaigns and whatnot. Is there any way to actually like campaign for these kinds of awards in the industry?
The only way that I've seen is that tourism agencies get together with the top restaurants in their region, and they will invite journalists, writers. They will invite Academy chairs because, again, the Academy chairs are the only ones that are on the public website that people know that they're voters, right? There are only 26 known voters out of 1,000 voters. They
Yeah.
will invite them to their country, to their city, and they will have dinners at these restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they can pretty much figure out who other voters are going to be because they'll just invite, writers and freelancers that have big presences on Instagram. Those tend to be the people who get asked to vote. So
Mm-hmm.
while there's no guarantee they're voters, they're it's not shooting fish in a barrel, but they have a pretty good sense that those are potentially voters. And then if they're influential people and they vote and they go to a place like, say, Oriole in Chicago, and they
Mm-hmm.
have a great experience, they're going to tell their colleagues and their friends about it. They're going to post about it. And then their people who follow them are going to say, oh, when I'm in Chicago, I'm going to go to Oriole.
Yeah.
So that is sort of a shadow campaign, a way to get people to come, I think.
Yeah. Has that ever backfired? AKA like people have been invited to those meals and then someone, maybe posts about it and is like, I had a horrific meal at Oriole.
No, people tend to not keep it. They tend to keep it to themselves. They have a bad experience,
Yeah.
but it backfires when voters will say to the restaurant, "Hey, I'm a voter. I need to get a reservation," and that
Mm,
is forbidden. Voters are supposed to be anonymous. You're not supposed to tell the restaurants you're a voter. So, and as soon as we find out about that, we contact the voter and tell them they're off the list and they're not voting anymore. And because yeah, people try to use it to their advantage, and we think
yeah.
that's not it's not cool.
I wish we had that in the food influencer world, just like these people who are reaching out to restaurants and saying like, "Hey, I'll come eat at your restaurant. You just have to give me twelve hundred
Yeah,
dollars worth of free food." I wish we had a
it's
way to
so
kick them off Instagram.
yeah, it's really ridiculous. I just saw somebody post something last week from a restaurant here, and they didn't hashtag ad or sponsor or partner or anything. And I heard later from the restaurant that they had to pay the person $1,000 to do a
Wow.
reel for them. Just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That is, hey, it's not bad work if you can get it, but it does feel like it's against the spirit of the exercise, right?
Yeah, and the flip side of that, if you get invited somewhere, like if you're a voter, you happen to be a voter and they don't know it, but if you go to a place and you have a not great experience, you're not going to vote for that restaurant just because they gave you a free meal. If they comped you, there is no way of knowing if they voted, how they voted for your restaurant, if they voted at all.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been a guest at a restaurant like once in Bogota, and it's one of those top 30 places, and I had
Mm-hmm.
a terrible experience a couple months ago, and like they are not going to get a vote from me, that's for sure.
Yeah. And you were invited there.
Yeah,
Got it. So that
yeah.
kind of backfired for them, although you're probably not the kind of guy to go and spread that around everywhere.
No, I didn't talk about it. I didn't post. I posted like one picture from the dinner, but I wasn't. Yeah, I was not praiseworthy.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. But I hear that. If I'm going to a restaurant and I'm not posting about it, then that's kind of a tacit review in and of itself, you know?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I feel like we should probably get onto the main course of this conversation, and that is pizza, because
Yeah.
you're kind of like Chicago's mayor pizza, and if there is like a presidential campaign of pizza, I think you're making a really strong case to become president of the United States of pizza. And I have to ask, where did this love for pizza come from? We've heard about your love for food, but why pizza specifically?
Yeah, it came from frustration. I had read in 2016, 2017 a listicle of the seven hottest pizza places in Chicago, and I knew that it was BS. I knew that it was based on, PR hype or whatever. And I asked, had anybody ever gotten to the bottom of this pizza question in Chicago? Like, I know we talked about Italian beef, talked about hot dogs, but what about pizza? And as I dug into it, no one really had. There were one or two books written about Chicago pizza, but they weren't very thorough. So I
Hmm.
said, okay, I'm going to just, I've done deep dives on pho, I've done deep dives on beef. I'm going to do a deep dive on pizza. So I said, I'll set aside 3 months. I'll do like maybe 3, 4 days a week. I'll go to a couple places a day. I'll tackle the region as a whole. And as I started doing this, people would chime in and they would say, if you're going to do a Chicago hashtag Chicago pizza crawl, you better go to Pudgy's in Hegewisch. You better go to Barnaby's in Northbrook. You better go to, on and on it went. And the thing that I liked about it was every now and then you discover a little gem, and every one of these places has a great story. There's so
Hmm.
many, like you hear about Pizzeria Uno, which is kind of a tourist trap now, and the owners have been based in Boston for many, many years. But
Hmm.
a lot of these other places have some great local stories. And so as a minor in history, I got excited about kind of the where did this come from,
Hmm.
and how are you sourcing, and tell me about the sauce, and what about the cheese. And I did, there's more than just sauce, cheese, and dough and crust. I feel like it's just there's so many nuances to pizza. And then I get to the West Coast, and so let me back up. So as I was doing this, I found that there was this incredible interest on my website, and I pitched it as a book to Northwestern University Press because they had asked me to do a quick review, a peer review for them on another project.
Hmm.
And they said, "Yeah, we love this idea. Nobody's ever done it. Let's do it." So I ended up going to about 186 places in about 6 months to get to 101 that I could recommend.
In
Because obviously,
in
every
the
four places you
U.S.
go
in the
in
U.S. or in
Chicago,
Chicago?
in Chicago.
186 pizzerias in Chicago.
Oh yeah, because
That's
listen, if you go to four places, two or three are not going to be great.
yeah, yeah. I hear
Right?
that.
That's a law of averages. So you can't just go to 101 and expect to get 101 you're going to recommend. So
Yeah.
as a reporter, again, and I'm not getting paid by these places, I'm going out on my own dime. I spent my advance, within 3 months. I'm trying all the pizzas I can to get a really clear picture of my environment. And so I came up with top fives for, tavern style, artisan, thin, Neapolitan, Roman. I also realized Chicago has this wealth of styles. We have such a deep
Yeah.
bench that doesn't exist anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, New
Yeah.
York is really like a 3 or 4 style town. LA's got maybe two or three, a lot of wood fired in LA. And Chicago's just got a little bit of everything. So this became kind of my mission and my calling. And then I started a pizza tour business that year, and then started a podcast, and then started talking about festivals. And this is where we are now with the second festival we're going to do in LA. We did one in Chicago last summer. We had a huge turnout, like 4,000 people over 2 days. We had
Wow.
40 pizzerias over 2 days on 10 ovens. And we're going to do the same thing in LA now.
I want to hear all about that, but I just want to go back real quick. You said you put out five top five lists for all those styles of pizza. How did you judge them? Did you come up with rubrics, or did you kind of just like it sounds
Yeah,
like it
good.
was a scientific process?
It was the first one. By the way, every pizza ordered was half sausage, half pepperoni.
Okay, so
So, so
that's just to keep things standard across pizzerias.
Yep, there's no, I don't care if your specialty is the vegan cheese, whatever. It's got to be half sausage, half pepperoni. And I'm looking at the crust first and foremost. And secondly, I'm looking at the OBR, which is the optimal bite ratio. So I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for things like, every bite should be crust cheese sauce topping. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want a mouthful of cheese or a mouthful of crust. It's just not pleasant for me. And I
Yeah.
don't think it is for anybody else. So OBR is important. The quality of the crust is important. Temperature, is it evenly baked? What's the flavor profile? Those are kind of like the key things I'm looking for. And you can look at a pizza and pretty much know if it's going to be decent or not.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'm taking one bite and I'm done. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
typically I take a bite from the tip and a bite from the heel, and that's all I need.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. That is also, I feel like if you're eating 186 pizzas over I don't know how many days, you've also got to find a way to pace yourself, and and
Yeah.
efficiency and the number of bites is probably one way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go to four pizzerias in a day, I'm happy to do 2 bites each place and bring the rest home for my teenagers,
Yeah.
who after 3 months were like so sick of pizza they wanted to kill me.
Wow,
But
that's
that,
like
you know,
that's like a
yeah,
parenting tip right there. It's like if you want your kids to get sick of pizza, just embark on writing a book about pizza and and they'll be sick about it.
that's
Uh,
true. That is
yeah.
true.
Well, tell me a little bit more about Pizza City Fest. We mentioned it earlier, but it's coming. It's coming in thick and fast. End of April, right?
End of April, April 29th and 30th. Yeah, the last weekend. It's going to be at LA Live, right on the event deck across the street from Crypto.com Arena. And we're partnering with those guys. So, if you go see a game, Clippers or Lakers game, you're going to see ads for Pizza Fest. So I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to curate this over a couple months. We met on one of my trips. I came in with my wife on a trip. We went to like 8 places in Long Beach on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So I went to like 60 places in all to get to 38 that we invited. And I mean, it is just an all-star lineup. I mean, from all over the region too, from Bettina in Santa Barbara down to Tribute in San
Incredible.
Diego. I just, and like LaSorted in Silver Lake and Long Bridge Pizza Company on San Francisco is going to come down. I
Wow.
always have one out of towner. So in Chicago, we had one guy from Nashville, but at this event, we're going to have one guy from San Francisco. Pi LA, which nobody has written about in
I mean,
DTLA.
clearly you haven't been following the LA Countdown because we reviewed it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I guess,
Sorry.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, traditional media absolutely has not. I don't understand because that they are making some incredible pizza there.
Yeah, I really like it. I really like it. I mean, yeah, Ronin, Slice and Pint, El Segundo. We're gonna, Slice House by Tony Gemignani is opening in Thousand Oaks,
Wow.
but they're gonna be there. So really cool, like Truly Pizza down in Dana Point, which is John Arena, who's got Metro in Las Vegas.
Uh huh.
He's just about to open up Truly in Dana Point. So just really, really great, really talented people, and not just pizzas, but desserts. Like we just posted on the website, which is pizzacityfest.com. We just posted the dessert people. One of the late Jonathan Gold's favorite gelatos was a place in Altadena called Bulgarini.
Yeah.
And I've got Leo Bulgarini who's going to be there on Saturday. We've
I've
got
got
Lay's
a yeah.
Cookies.
I've got a funny story about Leo Bulgarini actually. So he's
Oh,
he's he's from Rome and I'm from Rome, right? And the problem with that is that we support rival soccer teams. So one time at an event that Jonathan Gold hosted, one of his like gold standard events when he was working at the LA Weekly, which sound a little like Pizza Fest, but it was all Pizza City Fest, but it was all like all types of different restaurants. He invited Bulgarini to be there, and I introduced myself to the late Mr. Gold, and I told him, I'm from Rome, and he asked me without missing a beat, "What's your favorite soccer team?" And I tell him it's Lazio, and he points straight to Leo Bulgarini and says, "Go and tell that man that." So I walk over, I walk over to Leo, and I tell him, "Hey, Jonathan told me to tell you I'm a Lazio fan," and he just looks at me like I just insulted his mother, turns around
oh,
and leaves his station. Um,
no
yeah, leaves
way.
his station. Didn't even give me ice cream, and Jonathan Gold ended up writing that anecdote in a piece, which was I'm gonna get framed someday because honestly, if you've made it in
Oh
a
my
Jonathan
God.
Gold piece, you can die happy, right? So
Wow, what a great story.
yeah, well, but the way you're describing Pizza City Fest, I'd sum it up. It sounds like the Coachella of pizza.
Exactly. That's a great way to say it. I, there's a pizza expo that happens in Vegas at the end of March, and that's all industry.
Uh
And
huh.
I felt like a couple of years ago, man, there's nothing for the consumer or the prosumer or the person who's, been a hobbyist or who wants to open a place. Like it's just we're gonna do how to make pan pizza at home. We're gonna have a conversation with Chris Bianco and Brian McGinn from Chef's Table Pizza. They're going to be interviewed by Karen Palmer talking about what it was like putting that together. So just really interesting panels as well. We've got a cool one called "What is LA Style Pizza?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a tough one to nail down, right? I mean, how do you say what is LA Style Pizza?
It's well, it kind of leads to this question of what kind of a pizza town is LA? You kind of summed it up as having a lot of wood fired pizza, which I was actually a little taken aback to hear. Obviously, we have a lot of wood fired pizza, but I wouldn't have thought of that as the quintessential LA style.
Yeah, because well, Nancy Silverton, right? She's the pioneer at
Right.
Mosa, And then everybody, wants to be a little bit like that, I think. And you look at, Ronin and Gras and even, well, Pisana isn't really, I mean, it is wood fired, but
Yeah.
it's Neapolitan, but there's just a lot of wood fired ovens in LA that I've seen.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Pizzeria Say.
And maybe that sort of neo-Neapolitan tagline is a good way to sum up LA pizza, because I feel like that may be one of our quintessential styles, right? Like wood fired, but with sort of new touches on the dough, new touches on like nods to California produce and whatnot. Because all of those places you just mentioned are, to me, quintessential LA pizzerias.
Yeah, but then there's Apollonia's, which is not wood fired, and there's Pie LA, which is not wood fired, and they're doing interesting things, right? Fred Eric is using kombu in his water for his dough. Justin at Apollonia's I mean, you could say it looks like a Detroit style, but it definitely is not Detroit style.
Yeah.
I joke, I'd say it's Monterey Park style because that's where he's from. But it just there's so much creativity in LA. That's also why I
Yeah.
wanted to do this. Like, just using Korean ingredients as toppings, using Latin ingredients as toppings.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by how creative people. I know there's a tacos al pastor pizza somewhere.
Yeah, I've had a couple, actually, a couple renditions. But I think, to your point, then I'd say LA pizza might just be innovation. It might just be
Yeah,
like who's doing something different at any given moment, and then does that style catch on? Because yeah, you're right. I mean, I was about to say that places like Apollonia's and LA Pie, they're kind of deviations from the mean, but no, I actually think, that's a great point. They're kind of like a great representation of what makes LA pizza great.
I mean, a really good example of an only in LA pizza is Double Zero in Venice,
Yeah.
which is vegan. And I kind of laughed under my breath when I said I used like, we're really going to have macadamia cheese or cashew cheese or whatever. And I was blown away how good that pizza was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the guy from Plant Food and Wine, right?
Matthew Kenny.
Matthew Kenny. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it
so
was
look,
really good.
I've got two final questions, which you can take a bit more quick fire, but there are things I really want to know from you. A, what's the best pizza city in the U.S.?
Ooh.
I'm gonna make you some enemies right here.
There's no best pizza city in the US.
That's an easy
Oh,
answer.
come
That's an easy
on.
answer.
I mean, here's the thing. New York has fantastic pizza. No one does a New York style slice better than New York because there's something in the skill pool, the talent pool, the ecosystem there. But the thing about Chicago is that we have so many styles. I think if you want to say what's a good pizza city, it should be a city that represents pizza, in all its forms, right?
Yeah.
Like I would say, just back this up for 1 second. New Haven has great pizza and it's interesting pizza, but it's not a great pizza town because there are 5 pizza places there of note and they all
Yeah.
do the same style.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, I will say Chicago is the greatest pizza city in America because we have deep and tavern and stuffed and Detroit and Neapolitan and Roman and Sicilian and bakery style slices and on it goes here. So
Yeah.
that's what I think is great about a pizza city.
Look, I'm gonna let you have that one because you mentioned all those styles, and actually, I can't think of excellent versions in LA of some of those representations. So I'm gonna just take your word for it, but it just means I'm gonna need to come to Chicago sometime and take one of your pizza tours. But it leads me to my final question. You bring up deep dish pizza. Settle this once and for all. Is it pizza?
Absolutely is. And the reason I say that is because you're probably thinking of stuffed pizza, which is a different architecture altogether. Stuffed is made in a deep pan,
Right.
but in addition to the bottom crust or the bottom dough, and then it has shreds of mozzarella and the topping, and then it has a second layer of dough across the top of that, and then the sauce goes on top of the second layer of dough.
Uh
That's a
huh.
stuffed pizza. That's not deep dish. Deep
Yeah.
dish is a complete is doesn't have a top layer of dough, and so when I take people like Justin at Apollonia, when I took him to My Pie, or when I took
Mm-hmm.
Paulie G's to My Pie, or when I took Michael from St. Vito Focacceria in Nashville to My Pie, it changed their life, and they said
Yeah.
this is actually delicious deep dish pizza.
So my pie is your shout. Is that your shout for best deep dish pizza in Chicago?
It's my top Yeah, I think it is. They've been around for 50 years. It's very consistent. There's only one store. They opened up within a few months of Lou Malnati's, which is the big
Yeah.
dog in Chicago. But yeah, they do such a great job at My Pie.
Yeah, yeah. I look, I have a deep appreciation for deep dish pizza, don't get me wrong. But I do have a tough time comparing it pound for pound with other styles of pizza because I
No,
think
but
of
here's but
I
here's the problem. So
yeah, yeah,
go
go
ahead.
for it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say of all of the styles of pizza, it feels so different that it's hard. I would be more likely to compare it to I don't know. In Italy, we have these things called pizze rustiche, which are basically like pies, right? It's like a savory pie to me. Um,
Yeah, so again, Pizza Rustica is what Rocco Palese, the owner of Nancy's, was inspired by in 1971 when he created stuffed pizza,
uh-huh.
the Easter
Yeah.
pie. That's what he
So
that's the stuffed pizza, not a deep dish.
yeah, right, right. And but even so, and I guess, I'm thinking of some deep dishes that I've had here in LA, of some that I've had in Chicago. To me, they're almost the stuffed pizza without the top layer of dough.
Yeah, well, first of all, you can't say anything about the deep pizzas in LA being representative. I mean, I've been to Massa Echo Park, I've been to the one in Long Beach. They're not deep dish pizza. They're not good representations. If you bit into a Lou's or a My Pie or a La Briola, it's like eating a Sicilian, but it's in a
Uh-huh.
round pan. It's the
Okay.
same thing as eating a Sicilian, but in a round pan.
Okay, well that's starting to sell me. That's starting to sell me on the notion of that as pizza. Look, I like it. Nothing against it, but as an
No, I
LA
gotta take.
person,
No, I gotta take you on a pizza tour. That's what it come down to. I gotta
that's
take you
the
on a
bottom
tour.
line. Well, speaking of, really excited for Pizza City Fest. Where can people find you online, Steve, and where can people find information about Pizza City Fest?
Just pizzacityfest.com is the easiest, and I'm Steve Dolinsky with a Y.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We'll have to have you back sometime.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, man. Great to
All
hear
right.
from you.
Thanks, Steve. Talk soon. Bye now. So, thanks to Steve Dolinsky for telling us about Pizza City Fest LA. And now we're joined by the man who used to run Brian Colangelo's burner account.
I'm
It's cousin Salmon. How you doing today, buddy?
doing great, man. Yeah,
Aren't
proud
you
proud social media intern for Brian Colangelo and the whole Colangelo family.
well, I bring that up because I think it's an important thing to put on your resume as you continue to make your case for the infatuation.
Look, I think if Brian Colangelo's uh, uh, entire flame out and loss of career is any indication, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm
Well,
doing.
you certainly know how to, keep people talking about you. Uh, aren't you forgetting to wish me something?
I was about to say it, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
32, 32. You are properly middle aged now, man. Got
Yeah,
6 months left in those knees.
I'm middle aged by like 1950s standards. Uh, yeah, hopefully I'm not middle aged. Hopefully I'm like, hopefully with modern science, maybe I'm just reaching quarter age. You never know.
Yeah, you tell yourself that. All that marathon running, you're gonna be broken down in like about a year and a half is what I guarantee you. We'll be wheeling you around.
That's how I keep the sandwich weight off, my dude.
It's a hell of a it's the funniest way to destroy your body. Just doing the healthiest thing everyone imagines, running marathons and just pounding your body with pizza and sandwiches in the interim.
Yeah,
It's a real like whiplash you're giving your body. Which we'll see how it plays out. You're a modern
that's
marvel.
that's what I like to say about myself too. That's actually how I describe myself in interviews. Well, today we're doing something a little different. Well, everything is different because we're early in the life cycle of this podcast. But for the first time, we are going to do a draft. Essentially, this is kind of like a sports thing, right, Saul?
Yes, a draft is a sports thing, or if you're a World War II vet, a very, very unfortunate thing.
That's a fair point. Uh, Basically, the way a draft works is each team gets to pick their first choice, followed by their second choice, followed by their third choice. And we are doing it today with a theme. We are picking the best birthday evenings in Los Angeles. And the way we're defining this is pick one restaurant and one bar combo and the only rule is they have to be a mile or less apart. Is that fair? Fair to sum up the rules?
That's right. It's the ideal Los Angeles birthday evening, at least the beginning of the Los Angeles birthday evening, restaurant bar combination in, just about walking, if not cheap Uber distance.
That's fair. Okay. You've let me know that you didn't verify distance, so you may be disqualified from this. But the way this is going to work, we have to come up with a way of who gets first pick.
I thought guest doesn't get first pick. Pretty rude podcast, if I do say so myself.
You know what? I am so confident in my picks that I will let you have the first pick. That is how magnanimous I am.
You're gonna regret it. I got some doozies here, man. You're about to get stomped on your own turf. The boy from Seattle gonna come in and give the audience the best LA recommendations there are to have. Now, funny enough, I created a self-imposed restriction as well, which is that all of my restaurants and bar recommendations are exclusively places that I have been to in LA, which means they're technically about 7 years old. Which we'll see how that plays, but in my mind, it's the best of the best.
Look, I've got plenty of old school places on my list, and that's because I think there's nothing in God's law that says you need to have a birthday at a newly opened restaurant. At least last time I checked.
No, that's absolutely right. And by the way, if it's lasted the 7 years / 6 years since I left LA, that means it's a classic. That means it has staying power and that the people love it. And so I feel confident that, the nights that I have planned for our soon to be birthday celebrating audience members are going to be the absolute best options they have in front of them.
All right. So without further ado, the commissioner's on stage is calling out. With the first pick in the draft, it's Cousin Salman. Who you got?
This recommendation is called the Echo Park Party Time. I had to go back to our neighborhood for to kick this off. Dude,
you've never sounded more like a gentrifier in your life.
Oh, I bet I have though. I think the vanguard of Echo Park gentrification that we were a part of back in 2014, 2015 has now been fully complete. And so I can bask in my victory by telling folks, if you want a great birthday, and especially if your best friends and closest confidants are, young, single, a couple of years out of college, have a couple bucks in the bank, and you know that you can trust this group to believe that what happens in Echo Park stays in Echo Park, here's what you do. Here's what you do. You go BYOB at Guisado's Tacos, first of all. Yes, an old standby. Everyone knows Guisado's. You could say, hey, that's a real old, that's a 2016, 2014 recommendation, Saul. No, trust me. You bring all the booze your money can buy to Guisado's, you load up on delicious tacos, and you walk right on down to the best bar in LA, Little Joy, on the corner of Porsche, I don't care, Porsche and Sunset, Little Joy, the best night you can have. One of the best nights of my life, courtesy of you, Little Joy Bar.
You're welcome.
That's your night. And I'm even going to cheat a little bit. This isn't part of the pick.
Okay.
But just so you know, you can take that party right on down to the Echoplex and enjoy some booty LA.
Okay,
and round out your evening. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm like, look, that's Echoplex is not an official part of the recommendation. Okay, good. I'm just throwing it out there
because I want the Echoplex to remain on the draft board. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't.
It's not off the board for sure. It's we saw those BYOB and Little Joy, #1 overall pick.
I'm pretty happy that you picked this because it's honestly like picking Greg Oden in 2022. It's
wow. That's it's rude to Echo Park.
No, that's not. No, okay, I didn't even mean for the bust potential. I meant just because this is such an antiquated pick for the current draft. There's clearly a Victor Wembanyama on the board, and I'm about to take him. Are you ready for this?
Oh yes, educate.
Okay, so with the second pick in the draft, Team Luca selects De La Nonna and the Let's Go in the Arts District.
The Let's Go?
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, De La Nonna is a wonderful, beautiful, very stylish pizza restaurant, you might say, but it's more than just a pizza restaurant because they make these beautiful little focaccias and they have like gorgeous decor. They've got fancy little salads. The food is very shareable. They've got beautiful drinks, and they just opened an Italian disco right next door. That is hot to trot. So you can do it all with literally 10 paces by going to Delanon, having some incredible food, get your Aperol Spritz on, and then walk over to the Let's Go to dance to some, Italian disco songs that you probably never heard of, but are definitely going to get your blood flowing. And that is the Victor Wembanyama on the board right now.
It's a good pick. I'm not going to lie. You took me to Delanona before me, you, and a friend of ours went to a LA Clippers game, subsidized by yours truly. And it was a good place. And I've never been to the Let's Go, but I saw the opening. It did look pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So are you regretting your first pick now?
Absolutely not. Come on, mine is an LA classic. Like I said, LA standby. You can't go wrong.
Yours would be great for an out of towner.
Oh, shut up. That's disrespectful.
All right. Third pick on the draft. I'm feeling pretty good so far. Okay, third pick in the draft. You're on the clock.
This one is the Arts District Classic. Now, if you and your friends have been away for a couple years, you're past your too cool for school days, and you value just a high quality, high entertainment, high good time night out in the city, here's where you go. You start at the one and only Bestia. That's your dinner. No one's ever had a bad dinner at Bestia. No one's ever had a bad night start at Bestia. And you walk right on over to what I feel is like a really great special bar, Resident. Now, if Villains Tavern was still open and had survived COVID, RIP, they would have been the pick. No idea if they're a mile away from Bestia. Let's just hope that they would have been. But Bestia to Resident, I think, is a can't go wrong night. Also a perfect vibe for, again, kicking off the evening. You're going to be well sated with pizza, pasta, and delicious appetizers from Bestia. You're going to have a nice open air bar feel and an air streamer serving you drinks at Resident. And from there, the night can go wherever you want.
This is a good pick, I will say, for proximity of the bar, that you really nailed that. I also think Resident really captures that birthday feel. It feels like a party. Yeah. It feels like that backyard party in college at the house that one group of friends rented and got really lucky to rent. They had a really nice outdoor space. So I like this pick a lot. I'm not heartbroken that it's off the board, but certainly I could see how it would be a good roster fit for some rosters that might make the playoffs, might make the play-in game maybe. You're not going to be challenging really for a top 4 spot, I don't think, with that pick.
I find that hard to believe.
Okay, with the 4th pick on the board, the commissioner is waving at me to make it to put the pick in, and I'm going with a classic because not all birthdays have to happen at hot and new flashy restaurants. This is a Koreatown birthday, and
I did not have that on my list, and I can't believe I forgot it. Damn,
yeah,
I'm already hurt.
Koreatown is the Las Vegas of Los Angeles. I believe that. It is like you go out for a night in Koreatown, and if you can find parking, anything can happen. Honestly, it's the one place where you don't even need a plan when you go out because there's always something going on. There's always some weird karaoke bar, some weird soju bar, some delicious food that you've never heard of that you're gonna try for the first time. It is the place where magic happens. However, I'm going to more tried and true classics here, but I just want to, for a birthday, you don't want to leave anything to chance. You want a plan, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to start the night at a restaurant that always feels like you've stumbled into somebody's birthday party, and that is Gelagetza, Oaxacan classic.
Yeah.
There's always live music. They're always playing, they're really bringing the vibras. You got great mezcal cocktails. This is actually the bar that is credited with introducing mezcal to the Los Angeles scene. So you got a nice little, tidbit with which you can impress your guests by throwing that on them, and just excellent food. And then in less than a mile, you can take the party to the one and only Brass Monkey Cafe.
Oh, fuck.
This is a good pick. Now,
this is a good pick. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Brass Monkey is like located in the back of like a commercial building. It is a divey karaoke bar where pretty much every night of the week you can have an amazing time. There's always like some weird like office party where like people are getting a little too handsy. There's always like this one dude who shows up every single night and sings Whitney Houston to absolute perfection. And you can get cheap shots. You can sing, you can not sing. You can just cheer on your friends or others as they sing. It is a vibe. And to do that and Gelagetsa, this is the ultimate 3-and-D pick, you know? Well in college, stayed. The reason it's down this far on the board is that it's did well in college, but it stayed off 4 years. So there was a little bit of questions, you know, about like what exactly you're going to get. Are they ready for the league? You know, were they a little too coddled in college? So there's a little bit of unpredictability, but I think that experience is actually going to be a benefit, and it's going to be a instant roster fit, instant impact.
No, this is the steal of the draft, and I feel as I was making my list, I was going essentially neighborhood by neighborhood and making my top pick of combo for each neighborhood. And I was looking at my list, I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know why, and it was fucking Koreatown of all places. Gula gets a Brass Monkey. Now, for each of my picks, for example, I've set out a specific audience that would, I think, maximally enjoy the place. Gula gets a Brass Monkey. That's forever, man. You would never go wrong. You could be 18, you could be 45.
Yeah,
you're having a good night.
And good night for different reasons, right? But like you can absolutely, no matter the age, that's a timeless pick, man. Timeless.
That's a rough one. That's the Nikola Jokic second round pick here.
Yeah.
F my life, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
Is Steph Curry, really. Anyways, okay. Well, the commissioner's now waving to you because it's time for pick number 5 in this draft.
Pick number 5. First of all, even though that was a great pick, I'm unbothered. Ultimately, I feel confident in my squad, and I'm going with the downtown LA Yuppie Night. Okay. This is, if you couldn't tell from my first 3 picks, I'm essentially just retracing my steps through my 2.5 to 3 years in Los Angeles as a resident. The DTLA Yuppie classic night. Now, it was actually quite difficult to pick the right restaurants, and what I'm picturing here is that if you and your friends are overpaid professionals, you're doing some consulting bullshit or finance nonsense, and you think you're bigger than your britches, but who cares? Then what you're going to do is this.
Yeah.
And you might laugh. Actually, no. I have 2 restaurants. I'm going to choose the one I think is cooler. What we're going to do is we're going to hit Barama. Bar-A-M-A? Barama? I don't know.
Barama,
exactly which
yeah.
One. Barama.
It's always great when you can't pronounce where you're inviting people to dinner.
Don't even worry about it. All you need to do is read it and plug it into Google Maps. We're fine. Tex-Mex, delicious, a perfect, hearty, delicious meal before a night of heavy drinking. And then where the night will begin is at the Edison, which I think is just a super fun, underrated. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But a super cool environment, an old, essentially again, gas factory. Natural gas. I have no fucking idea. But it's cool as hell. You can dress up, you can dress down. It doesn't matter. And you're just in a really cool environment. And you're right in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Your bar crawl for the night could start right there. In fact, I took your fiance when we were getting to know each other on a little downtown LA bar crawl to let her get to know her a little bit better.
When you were trying to swoop, it was still early enough. And you had the opportunity.
It was a risky moment for you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Luckily,
I flirted with danger that night.
It was all saved by her and I meeting my current bosses at the time, about 6 bars deep, and her calling me daddy in front of them, which they never let go. That's the origins of daddy are a different conversation, a different podcast. But she said that to me, and for the rest of my professional life, the moniker has not left my side. And in fact, as I'm reflecting on this, her calling me daddy in public might have been, frankly, quite risky for you in general, but turned out fine. Everything was as it should be. But we started at the Edison, the perfect night.
Look, I like this pick. I like this pick, and here's why. First of all, Barma, underrated restaurant, 100%. It used to be properly rated, but I think as happens with a lot of restaurants in LA, they survive tough times. They make it like 8 to 10 years, and all of a sudden they lose a bit of their shine. And I think it's unfair. So, I'm willing to give you like that's still an excellent restaurant. I also think it's party food. It's Tex-Mex. There's something that just makes you want to dance about dipping your chips in queso and washing it down with a margarita. It signals fun.
Yes.
So I love that. I love that as a pick. I'm jealous. I think the Edison's a good shout because there's a lot of directions you can go in downtown, and that one takes you close to City Hall.
Yes.
And there's just something so like magical and romantic about like the art deco-ness of like the LA Times building and the City Hall. And just, you feel like you're in a noir movie, So I'm digging this pick. I really am. I'm jealous. I could have used it on my team.
Logistically as well, starting at Edison, you were at the top of the hill. And so wherever the night takes you, you're walking downhill. Big deal when you're 3 bars deep.
Yeah. Look, this has made me reevaluate my next pick because my next pick, 6th pick in the draft, I was, we're outside the top 5 now. So things start to get a little less certain, but I traded up for this pick. I did because I really believe in it. And the pick I'm making with the 6th pick in the draft is sort of a 2-in-1. It's both your bar and your restaurant. And that is Melody Wine Bar in Virgil Village. Allow me to explain. Now, Melody Wine Bar, first of all, you got to keep in mind, most birthdays don't happen during a weekend. Most birthdays happen on a weekday, right? And so you need an option too for the nights where folks may not want to turn up all the way. You need an option for a night when like people may just want to sit at a beautiful communal table, have some, tasteful natty wine, and have, elevated conversation about the things that are affecting them. And that's a solid birthday too. So the Melody Wine Bar is a beautiful wine bar in Virgil Village where not only do they have great natural wines, it's very aesthetically pleasing. There's great parking around there, surprisingly, because there's a lot of meters on Virgil. But also, they are basically an incubator for some of the hottest pop-up restaurants in Los Angeles. The previously mentioned De La Nonna started as a pop-up at Melody Wine Bar. One of my favorite tacos that I had on my taco countdown last year, Molly LA, which was basically like a Jewish Mexican fusion. They had this insane pastrami taco, which sounds gross, but was actually incredible. That started at Melody Wine Bar. So not only are you inviting people to a sick wine bar, you're also basically inviting them to what is eventually probably going to become one of the hottest restaurants in LA one day. So it's a way to wow your friends. It's a way to have them try something new while also not asking them to even leave one place to go to another. It's a bar and restaurant in one. This is very much it played in the foreign leagues, it didn't go to college. So it's kind of unknown. It's kind of a hipster pick. So there's definitely a little bit of a bust potential because you don't know what the pop-up is going to be on any given night. But if this one pays off, you're going to look like a genius. This is the Luka Doncic of the draft.
I'm not going to lie. When you first started describing, I've never been to Melody Wine Bar. When you first started describing it, I was like, boring pick, lame. This is like a low ceiling, potentially low floor pick. I'm cruising, but the pop-up piece brought it around where I go, okay, high floor, potentially low ceiling, high ceiling, potentially low floor. And I like that. I'm into the pick. If your birthday's on a Wednesday, you're allowed to celebrate it on a Friday. You don't have to. You don't have to force it.
But not everybody can. Not everybody can.
Not everybody. I mean, what's stopping?
What if it's your brother's funeral on Saturday? And you'd be an absolute dick to go out on a Friday night, the night before your brother's funeral. So you're celebrating on a Wednesday.
And given my 56 brothers dying each week of the year, I'll never be able to celebrate my birthday on a weekend. No, you got me around. I was legitimately, when you started talking, I was like, why? But yeah. I like the pitch. I like the pitch. Yeah. I still feel like it's a risk, and it's not a bad place to take a risk.
But I will say it's a risk. But I can speak from personal experience. I took this risk last night. I celebrated my birthday at Melody Wine Bar. And I looked at what the pop-up was going to be, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. It was like a Filipino pop-up called Little Imposter. really wanted pizza. As everybody knows, I live and breathe and bleed pizza. So I was really hoping that my boy Lucky Nick's was going to be there.
Ooh.
But Little Imposter was there, and I ordered everything on the menu, which is really easy to do on a pop-up, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. It was incredible. We had adobo pork, which was like almost like had a boeuf bourguignon thing going on over some Anson polenta grits. Like incredible. Some delicious prawns that were beautifully fried. Had some lumpia, which were just ethereal. Like, take me home. Absolutely. Every day of the week. So even when you don't think you're going to be excited about a pop-up, I just think they're so good at curating it that you're going to have a good time no matter what. So I think anybody who turns their nose up at this pick doesn't know the game.
I respect it. I'm glad you had a good time last night. I'm glad you ate good food. And I like to say that Little Imposter, a great headline for your birthday. That makes a lot of sense.
No, it would be Big Imposter for me. Anyways, next up is the 7th pick of the draft. So without further ado, make your pick.
I'm planting my flag right in your neighborhood, bro. I'm taking over home court. We're going to Highland Park Hipster. This is, if you recall if you call the Arts District Classic, that's when you and your friends are past your too cool for school days.
Yeah.
The Highland Park Hipster is when your friends still think they're cooler than you really are and above the usual LA scene. And you go straight to the brand new, grand opened Via's Tacos brick and mortar and walk right on down to Block Party. And
okay,
I'm cheating again. If you were to continue your night, Good Housekeeping Speakeasy behind Birdie's Cafe, the perfect nightcap to a good birthday. Now, Good Housekeeping again will not be a taken pick. This is just an elaboration on the original recommendation.
Yeah,
but I'm just visualizing. I'm an itinerary builder.
Well, look, I think you have some deep flaws in this pick. I think your flaws with this pick are logistical. And this may just be because you're an out of towner. You're a transplant. You're a fraud. You're all these things. So the problem with this pick is, first of all, Via's Tacos. I love that pick. Absolutely love it. It would have been an inspired pick if you chose to do it at Via's Tacos on York when they're still popping up in front of Block Party. Because the issue is, if you're gonna go to the new location, it's gonna be probably a 25-minute walk to get to Block Party. And then if you go back to Good Housekeeping, that's probably a 40-minute walk, which means you're going to have some pretty pissed off birthday guests.
Hey, look, Via's Tacos are pretty big. You got to walk it off. You got to walk it off a little.
Uphill,
it was all part of the plan.
Uphill. Literally, for how excellently planned your downtown pick was, this was equally poorly planned. This is like,
I'm not gonna lie, I have no fucking idea where Via's Tacos brick and mortar was. I was just like, I bet it's close. I bet it's pretty close.
This is like the GM who just got the job and doesn't know what he's doing at all, and basically like somebody tricked him into trading a pick, and he's just doing the hype pick right now. You know,
God,
no thought about.
This is a reverse Sam Hinkie. I'm betraying all of my values.
Yeah.
Look, you know what? I don't even care. I stand by this. Via's Tacos is some of the best shit out there. Said, it's a weighty taco, and one of the risks that I consider when making this recommendation is Via's Taco too heavy to start a night? But given we got a nice healthy walk in between, people can stop by. We can do a little, stop by a bar, maybe the Hermosillo. Again, no idea where that is in relation to Block Party or Via's Tacos, but I'm gonna say it. And then, mostly the goal here was to step right into your backyard.
Yeah.
Not to dox you. And,
thank you. No, I was going to say thank you for letting our many listeners know where I spend my time.
The crowds of paparazzi and fangirls, I'm sure, are going to be difficult for you to manage from here on.
Fangirls, fanboys, whatever floats my boat, right? All right. I think it's time for the 8th pick in the draft. And again, I'm switching it up because, I'm looking at my roster, and I think what I really need is a bad boy. I think my team doesn't have enough grit. It doesn't have enough,
Yeah, you're soft.
Like, who am I putting in what do they call it? Like, at the end of the game, crunch time. But when you really got to pull out pull out your stones, So for dinner, we're going to East Hollywood. And we're going to go to a cuisine that I know you have a racist aversion to, but that I love, and that is Lebanese Armenian food. We're going to Carousel Hollywood. It's a beautiful place where not only can you get plenty of family style dishes, perfect for sharing, perfect for trying different things. Also, the waiters come out there and sing this weird happy birthday to you song in their accents, and it's actually really, really fun. So I highly recommend
in their accents.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it's part of the fun. It's part of the experience. Okay. And after you've wrapped up a fantastic dinner there, we're going to go literally 0.3 miles away to Jumbo's Clown Room.
Ooh.
Now, for those of you who don't know, this is like the wokest strip club of all of the strip clubs. It's not even really a strip club. It's basically just a place where you go and have drinks and admire some burlesque dancers. And I think it's kind of like an edgy pick. It's an edgy pick, but sometimes you need that edgy birthday, right? So I think this pick had some behavioral issues off the court in college. This is what they said. But no one denies the talent. And if you can rein in the talent and focus it and turn it into grit, this is the perfect team player to bring you to the playoffs.
This sounds like my birthday nightmare. Bro, this was your Anthony Bennett, your Markelle Fultz, your Ben Simmons pick. You're going from Lebanese food trash to a fake strip club? That sounds like a disaster. I've never been to Jumbo's Clown Room. I've never been to Carousel. But goddamn, I would kill you if you took me on this birthday. I'm feeling great about my team right now. This was, look, in my opinion, swing and miss, bro.
This is the reaction I expected everyone to have. Like nobody picks. This is like the movie The Draft. When Kevin Costner is gonna go with the main prospect, but then he realizes that none of his teammates went to his birthday. So he's like, I'm gonna go with the guy that has character. That's a mistake, bro. You have to go for the talent because the payoff is so much greater,
Yeah, the reason no one went to that dude's birthday is because it was at fucking Jumbo's Clown Room. That
may be true. But all you got to do is get the right coach, get Tibbs in with him and, get his head on straight. All right, we got one pick left each because we're going to wrap this up at 10 overall picks. I think that's fair, right?
10 overall picks. And by the way, I have some honorable mentions, which I would love to shout out to you.
Yeah, we can. I have some too, so we can do that. We'll do your pick, your last pick, my last pick. Then we'll roll through your honorables and my honorables.
Sounds great. All right.
Okay, 9th pick on the draft. Who you got, Cousin Saul?
This is the Atwater Village / Frogtown over 30. So once your crew has turned Luca's age, you're at the corner / round the bend of middle age. Your friends need a night out from the young kids and the strains of marriage and bullshit. And they want to relive the glory years for an evening. Here's where you take them.
One glorious evening
at Salazar, right around the corner to Zebulon. A place where you just took me, and it's a perfect one, too.
This is a great pick. This is a pick that should have been much higher up the board. Mm-hmm. I don't know why this one fell down so far, actually.
I was trusting that you wouldn't take it. I felt like you wanted to pop with a couple creative hipster picks, your melodies, your carousels. Yeah. So I felt confident it would be here for me, and I was correct. Yeah.
You were. No, it was a gamble. That was a gamble. You basically called my bluff. Yeah. This is a good pick. I feel like this is, blue chip player, probably played for Duke, knows great fundamentals, but potential to be just an average player, maybe could end up on the Hawks and never make the playoffs before getting traded to Minnesota, that kind of player.
Yeah, I see that, which is why I framed it for the over 30s who are okay with the low ceiling. You know what I'm saying? It's okay if we're home by midnight. It's fine. We're going to Zebulon. We're going to have a good time. And also, I think that's an area where there's, unlike the DTLAs and the Arts District, there's not much of a second / third location from those spots, but that's okay. It's a contained experience, probably walking distance from your middle-aged home in Frogtown, and that's what it is. But it is my late draft safe pick, and I feel like it's a solid contributor. Feel good about it.
Okay. That's for you to feel. That's between you and God. You and your God. You and your maker. Okay. My final pick in the draft, we're going to Hollywood. We're going to Tinseltown, baby. We're going to have dinner at L'Antica Pizzeria da Michele. So
that's a great spot.
This is, for those of you who don't know, one of the only U.S. locations of Naples' most famous pizzeria. So they make Neapolitan-style pizzas, but they do so much more there too. They make excellent pastas. All of their dishes are lights out, great for sharing. It's a very sleek restaurant too. It definitely brings the vibras, so I highly recommend it for any birthday. And from there, we're going up to the Roosevelt to the spare room.
Oh yeah.
Spare room, you can grab drinks, you have an activity, which is key for birthdays, especially if you've invited that work colleague that you don't know that well. So, you want to break the ice a little bit by having an activity. The spare room is the perfect place. Just, hand them a bowling ball, let them go to town, preferably on the bowling alley, not elsewhere in the bar. But to me, this is the big man who can shoot threes, You got you active in the paint, unafraid. Maybe needs to build a little muscle so that they can compete in the league. But I think this is the kind of five that you want on your team in the modern NBA.
I like this is a solid pick. It's a well-worn neighborhood for me, one I'm familiar with. And I gotta say, one of my favorite things about L'Antica is it's that very unique LA feeling where you're walking down the street in a neighborhood and you're like, this is a fucking nightmare. You're walking down Hollywood Boulevard. The cars are screaming past. It's dirty. It's loud. It looks like everything's dark and or closed. And you turn the corner, turn right into L'Antica, and it's heaven. It's
Oasis.
Eden. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
I like that. You're right. Thank you. Well, I think my team beats yours in this, but there's only one way. There's only one way to find out.
What, we put this to a vote?
No, the actual way we're going to find out is by putting this to a vote, but I was going to say we're going to do all 10 birthdays in one night.
That was my next suggestion, and I fucking love it.
Yeah. All right, next time you're in town. All right, it's time for honorable mentions. What do we got? You go first.
First of all, before my first honorable mention, I want to pour one out for what I thought was the ideal, not just birthday evening, but any evening in LA. Two places near and dear to our heart that are no longer with us. It was the Ostrich Farm to Sunset Beer evening in Echo Park. Great dinner, great cute little spot, and then right to another cute little spot and the best of the best in Sunset Beer right across the street. It was so many great evenings at one and or both of those places. So pour one out for those guys. Now the first... Yeah, go.
That is makes me even sad to think about, Yeah. That's this is the prospect that would have been amazing and got a career-ending injury in college.
Yeah, the actual Greg Oden in some way.
The actual Greg Oden, yeah.
Yeah. My dream for the LA Countdown, wherever it ends, is for you to somehow make enough capital to refund a new Sunset Beer. That's
the goal. Honestly, guys, we're going to start a GoFundMe, okay? All 20 of you listening to this podcast, we're going to start a GoFundMe, and we're going to resurrect Sunset Beer. That's the goal.
The guys who run it live in Thailand now, and you're like, you got to come back. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the vacation's over.
We're bringing you out of retirement.
You got work to do.
People need beer and board games. They just do.
They just do. First honorable mention. I'm going to go. So I have a couple here. One I think you're entirely unfamiliar with. I'm going to start with familiar, though, and that's the Los Feliz Wine Night. This is your Melody kind of equivalent, but for me, I was like, no, too boring. But at the same time, look, Found Oyster right over to Tabula Rasa is a beautiful evening. I mean, you just took me to Found Oyster. Great spot, great vibes, good food, nice light dinner, too. I mean, depending on what you order, but generally speaking, oysters can be a relatively light start to the evening. And then Tabula Rasa, just a classy little wine bar, really good vibes. Again, for maybe a 30-ish crowd, right? You're past your big time party days, but
Yeah.
Just a great night. Great night. What's your first honorable mention?
Well, let me just say, I like this pick. I think it's a good pick. I would have liked it even better if it was back in the days when La Morra was still making pizza there.
Yeah,
that was
in the
just,
backyard. Yeah.
yeah, some of the best nights of my life. I mean, exaggerating a little bit, but not even that much. I remember Valentine's Day where my now fiance and I went there, had La Morra and Tabula Rasa, and then we went to go see the disappointing romantic comedy Isn't It Romantic, starring Rebel Wilson.
Ooh, don't even know if I've seen that one. Maybe I should give it a shot.
I watched it for one reason and one reason only, and that is Adam Devine.
Okay, if he's in it, I understand that it wasn't that good.
Yeah. That is an insult to a man I consider a high artist. But anyways, okay, I'll give you a couple of my picks that fell out of my top five. So I'll give you two. Well, I'll start with one. First is a fashion district to downtown night. I wanted something opulent. I wanted something. Honestly, I went with a bit of like more like a Latinx feel. And we're starting the night at Dama. Beautiful place for a party. It feels like you're in Cuba, but like the good old days when Castro hadn't completely lost his mind. And it's just gorgeous decor. The food is fantastic, underrated, I think, in the city. One of the best desserts with their like soft serve, just an incredible restaurant, party vibes through the roof. From there, we're going to take a 0.7 mile walk to Las Perlas in downtown.
This is a nice combo, man.
This is a great combo because you get the Cuban sort of like Buena Vista Social Club vibe at Dama, and then you go straight to Bad Bunny, man, at the next place. And that's honestly the way I want to die. I wanted to. This was actually my third pick to begin with, but it fell out because you had some pretty good downtown arts district ones. So I felt like we needed some variety, but honestly, this could have been a top five pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is like a top undrafted free agent. I feel like this pick, instead of your little carousel jumbo clowns, whatever, jumbo's clown bar. What's it called? Room.
Okay, next time you're in LA, you and me, Jumbo's Clown Room at 2 p.m. on a random Wednesday. We're doing it. We'll work remotely from there.
All right, so I will go then to. So this is. I had to have a West Side option. I think we generally neglected West Side here. And
dude, again, me too. That's my next one too. So give me what you got.
Right, perfect. Let's do one. So this is the West Side snob night because you and your friends live on the West Side and have to pretend it wasn't the worst decision you made in your lives. You need to forget. You go to Felix. I've not been. I've heard great things. I think you could speak to how great Felix is. And then basically hit an Abbott Kinney bar crawl. Just go down the street. I've looked up a spot called Rooster Fish, which looks like a pretty decent cocktail bar. And then do that. But I wasn't gonna put this on my. This is like a European prospect almost to me that no one knows about. But it's not like a Giannis or Luka. It's like a Andrea Bargnani, and I'm like, this could go terribly. But I knew I need to have it represented.
This one is my least favorite pick you've had the entire night.
Wait, do you not like Felix?
I said this multiple times on the podcast, and I'm like, am I talking to myself here? Because, I don't like Felix. I don't like Mother Wolf. I think Evan Funky's overrated.
It's the same guy.
It's the same guy. My arch nemesis. Yeah. It's a very one-sided arch nemesis thing because, I probably don't keep him up at night, but I stay awake looking at the ceiling just thinking about his undercooked pasta. So to me, this is a bad pick. There's going to be a lot of people out there that like it. I'm just not one of them. It's a polarizing player.
Yeah. Well, this is one that I'm happy to be a bad pick because, like, first of all, honorable mention, and second of all, if you couldn't tell by the way I framed it up, West Side, not a place I respect in general. With some hyperbole.
This brings up a good point. This brings up a good point, which is. Who are these picks for, right? If we were making picks for like 22-year-olds, we 100% would have had more West Side spots. We would have had like go get a dinner at Elefante on the rooftop and then go to the bungalow. I think that's what the 22-year-olds are doing. We are bringing a bit more refinement and taste to this. We're going for like the 30s crowd, So And so I do have a pick that I think would appeal to both 20-year-olds that find themselves on the West Side and 30-year-olds that could make a trek from wherever they live. Are you prepared?
I think so.
Okay. We are in the neighborhood of Palms, an underrated place in terms of partying, probably because there just aren't a lot of places you can party. But the dinner, we're going to Madre, which is one of the best modern Oaxacan restaurants in Los Angeles.
I've heard of it.
Excellent mezcal selection, very, very solid food. Again, some like party vibes in that it's like very warm lighting, very friendly staff, it feels like a special night out, but also kind of unpretentious, kind of unassuming. It's like in a little bit of a strip mall situation in Palm. So it's not too, you're not going to scare anybody off. If you invite that like friend of yours who just moved here from Iowa, they're not going to be like, oh man, Luca's gone to LA, they're going to still respect you.
Are you sure about that? I feel like you misunderstand how much people respect you on a general basis. So I don't know if that's your take.
I'm the most respected podcaster in the United States. What do you think? No, the bar option, again, you'll see why this dropped off the list. But basically, you go right across the street to another strip mall, and you've got a wonderful karaoke dive bar called Boardwalk 11. Now, the reason this pick fell out of my top 5 is because I already had a Oaxacan restaurant in Guelaguetza, and I already had a karaoke bar in Brass Monkey. Not only, but they were already a combo in Koreatown. So this is basically like the night out in Koreatown if you're on the West Side and you don't want to drive there and you don't want to deal with the parking. But it is an excellent option, and it could have easily been in a top 5. It's like when you have two very similar players, and you only really need one for your roster. So I made my choice, but I could have easily gone with this and the team wouldn't have suffered.
I will say, I find it hard to imagine this West Side, Oaxacan to karaoke combo could best Guelaguetza to Brass Monkey. Those are just like, it's two similar players, but one's clearly better than the other.
Yeah, it would have been a good pick.
Right choice.
Yeah, it would have been a good pick if the Guelaguetza Brass Monkey player fell off the board. But I still needed that player profile. This would have been my second option.
I can't believe I'm still kicking myself for not thinking of Brass Monkey, even as a starting point. Damn. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to lose.
And I think your team is going to suffer because of it, because I don't think you have any player quite like that.
I don't quite. You're right. I mean, I had some barcades on the list. Button Mash was there, Angel City, and Arts District Brewery as like game bars. But really, you came through with Brass Monkey as like a real event space. I think it's a strong pick. I'm not going to lie. Hopefully Jumbos and Carousel crosses it out, which I feel confident will.
We are going to put all of these up to a vote on Instagram stories. So look out for that. We're going to literally go his first pick versus my first pick, Cousin Saul's second pick versus my second pick. And we're going to take we're going to take stock of who won this draft. And next week, the winner will get their flowers. How does that sound?
That sounds great. I will say this whole game and the research that went into it, I got to have all my birthdays in LA, man. Where else would it ever be? These nights sound fucking fantastic.
They do. I think there's only one city I would rather have my birthday in. Can you guess which one it is?
Ooh. It would be one of two. It's Mexico City or Cartagena.
It's definitely Mexico City.
Okay.
All love to Cartagena.
I feel like Cartagena for both of them, like it's in the glass box, glass case over there. We had our experience, and Mexico City. Yeah, that's a fair choice.
Yeah. One of these days we're gonna have to do a podcast on the best food city in the world, where we each make our case for it.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I'm ready for that.
Okay. Well, Cousin Saul, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Good luck with reviving Colangelo's Twitter account. And we'll see you next week, buddy.
Can't wait, man. Always fun.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
That's a wrap on another episode of the LA Countdown, the podcast. If you like what you heard, follow and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week. Find us in the meantime on Instagram and TikTok at the LA Countdown. That's THELA LaCoutDown.